Hey, the name is Kris, Barocsi, welcome to Gear Corner. In today's video, I want to figure out if we can hear the difference between a high-end tube amplifier rig and an amp simulation pedal. Can you spot the amp in an A/B comparison? Let's find it out. First, let me introduce the competitors. The first rig is going to be the Revv Dynamis 740 head, tube head, and the Universal Audio aux box for cabinet and mic simulation. This is as high-end as you can get with both amp and the cabinet simulation. It's not cheap, but man, it sounds insane. The amp simulation pedal is going to be this guy. It's the Walrus Audio ACS1 cab and amp simulation pedal. Whilst the Revv and the aux together costs around $3,200. This one only costs, well, only compared to that price, it's only $400. There's a big gap between the price tags, so I'm really interested to see if we can spot the pedal and the amp rig. Since I'm using a 2x12 Alnico speaker loaded simulation in the aux box, I wanted to have something very similar in the ACS1 as well for this video. For that reason, I bought my first IRs in my life, actually. It's the Celestion 2x12 Alnico Gold speaker loaded cab IR. And I loaded that in the pedal. I even selected the same mic simulations in both the ACS1 and the aux box, which is the combination of a Sennheiser MD421 and a Royer R121. I'll give you 3 playings: clean, crunchy, and distorted, using my favorite pedals for both rigs. I'll not tell you which is the amp and which is the simulation just yet. I will reveal the rigs later on, but for now, warm up your ears and give me your best guess in the comments below. Short side note on the Revv and the amp simulation of the pedal of the ACS1. I went for the Fullerton amp simulation in the pedal, which is basically a Fender Deluxe Reverb simulation. Now the Revv amp is not a Fender clone by any means. It's really not. But the Dynamis set like this is not super far from Deluxe Reverb's clean sound when that's cranked to around 3 to 4. And of course, don't forget, this is not a tone matching video. I want to focus on the question, how close can one of the best sounding and most advanced amp and cab simulation units get to a ridiculous sounding real amp? My 2 cents on this whole amp versus amp simulation thing. There are 2 aspects to it. First is the practical side, and second is the ethical side. Both are equally important for me, and let me explain why. The practical side is simple. It's awesome having all these options of great sounding simulation, pedals, plugins, rack units, whatever, you name it. It's so cool that we don't have to carry around all that heavy gear that's in many cases also very expensive if we don't want to. And the ethical side, I love amps. They're wonderful. They're rock and roll. There's nothing that compares to standing in front of a cranked, loud guitar amp. Nothing can simulate that experience and that inspiring vibe. For that reason alone, I'll probably always be in amp camp. That being said, I really, really love having all these options. I mean, I'm using the aux box and the 2 Notes Captor X for cab and mic simulation in all of my videos on this channel. All of them. For practical reasons, of course. I just can't afford to crank my amp for that long until I'm done with recording a video. And the recorded sound is at least as good using these as if I was using my cab with mics. So I don't sacrifice tone, which is very important for me. So alone this fact that I can use the Captor X or the aux to have a fantastic guitar tone without having to be way too loud, and here, is worth everything. It's so great to have them. And now the reveal. This is your last moment to pause this video shortly, go down and comment your guesses below. Rig 1 is the Walrus Audio ACS1 amp and cabinet simulation pedal. And rig 2 is the Revv head going into the aux box. So at the end of the day, if it sounds good and it inspires you to play music, it's all good. I only wish we stop being ignorant in both directions. Amps and cabs are great, but they're not the only good sounding option. And the other way around, amp sims are fantastic, but there's a good reason for real amps to exist and to cost more. The 2 rigs didn't sound very different in terms of tonal quality. It's more about the taste. Like, which one do you prefer? Is how I see it, at least. For the clean tones, I enjoy them both pretty much equally. Maybe there was a bit more dynamic, a wider dynamic range with the Revv, but that might be just voodoo. Maybe because, I knew I'm playing the amp. I don't know about that. The crunch tones were beautiful, both rigs. And the high gain sound was very interesting. That I felt the biggest difference between the tones of the 2 rigs when playing the King of Tone with the boost in front of it. For some reason, I felt that the amp had a more focused sound, and the Fullerton setting on the ACS1, which is a deluxe reverb, that's a bit more fizzy, so maybe that was the reason for that, but the tone just didn't work for me that well. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm really looking forward to seeing your comments, your guesses down below in the comment section. So meet you down there and see you next week. I'll be back with a new video. Bye bye.